Okay, we're back. We managed to work the belt on there. It's back on all the pulleys, and the crank is pretty much back where it was when we started, just slightly off of TDC. Let's see down in there maybe. See, it's just slightly off the mark. So now that we have the belt back in position, what we're going to do is we're going to leave our block on the cam there. We're going to loosen the front, the cam pulley here. This setup is not a keyed setup, it's strictly a taper. So we're going to go ahead and loosen this, which will allow that pulley to move on the camshaft. And then he's going to set his dial gauge up and explain how all that works with setting the timing on this pump over here. So we'll get set up and come back. Second. Alright, here we go.
Okay, this is the dial gauge. It has a 1 millimeter turn for all the way around. All of that is 1 millimeter. And it has to be set such that it fits the specifications on this particular pump. And I think this is 0.92.
He's reading the tag here on the deal here. And let me zoom in on that. We can read. Whoop! Went a little far right.
0.9 is it?
I want to back out just a bit. Well, I should be able to read it through the camera.
Plus or minus 500.
Intake, exhaust, valve. Oh, there we go. Initial injector timing is 0.90 plus or minus 0.05 of a millimeter. 0.05 of a millimeter. So anyways, that's what we're going to set here with this gauge he's got. And basically he's got this adapter piece which we'll screw into, set real quick, on the back end of the injector pump. Let's see if I can zoom right down in there. Just a second here before you stick your hands in the way. Let me find what I'm looking at. Okay, right down there in the center between all the where all the injector tubes are, you take the little bolt out, and then he's putting his gauge down, back out a little bit, right down there in the center of the pump between all the injector tubes is where he screws the adapter in that holds his gauge. Did that go in there?
It will, but it's bound up.
Okay, so we'll get that all set up and get his gauge on there, and then we'll be back. Okay, so what we got here, we got the cam loose, the cam gear loose, the block is in place, which holds the cam exactly at TDC. Now we're going to reposition the crank. We'll be able to rotate the crank without rotating the cam and get the crank directly at TDC, and then we can tighten the cam back up, and then it's a matter of adjusting the pump. Whoop, where are we at here? If I can find that place there. There we are. And he needs to come forward on the engine, just a tiny bit, and we'll see how that works out. Okay, whoa. And I believe that's just about exact. Let me go ahead and turn you guys off. And alright. Okay, so now we have the crank and the cam lined up at TDC. So now he's going to preload his gauge. It looks like 1. Coming around on 2. Two turns.
2.5.
So he's going to go another half. So it's preloaded at 2.5 revolutions. Anyway, once he's got that preloaded, we'll be able to start making the adjustments necessary. Just going to go ahead and let this run, and I'll edit out whatever I want to edit out. Okay, too much or?
Yeah, this thing isn't staying in position, and then I have to back this off. But it all turns. Shit.
What? Hold on. What are you trying to do? Let me do it.
Keep this tight.
Tight,
forward.
tight on the block, and back the other one off. Okay,
Yeah.
so that's tight on the block, and now you want to unlock your gauge, right?
Yeah.
Now, what direction is it? It's
Backwards. Counterclockwise.
and of course that's my fucked up hand.
Yeah. Well.
Got gimp left hands.
There it is. Okay, so there's that. Now let me get that fucker loose and get the other one good and tight so it'll stay where it belongs. That's still in the block. All right, now that one's in the block. Now,
Let's back out and
all right. Well, hang
start
on.
over.
Don't knock
Well,
this fucker over.
well,
I mean,
no, let's go back and start over. Because
yeah,
this is
that's
way
what we're
off.
going to do. Go ahead and start it over.
Okay.
All right, so now we're going to preload that gauge again to 2.5 revolutions and just snug it up. Probably doesn't need to be real tight just to hold it in position. This is kind of a pain on this car because we've got that vacuum pump hose right square at the end of the gauge. Binds up everything.
Okay. Then we zero it.
Okay, now turn his gauge around to the 0.
Okay.
Okay,
Then we back off on the.
so now, before you do that, we got to take the block out.
Yeah.
So next we're going to go ahead and take the block out of our cam and the block out of our injector pump there. We've tightened the cam gear a little bit so that the cam and everything will move together. Okay, come down here on your gauge. I think you're in the screen there.
Yeah.
Alright, so now we're going to go backwards for how far?
Until it stops.
Until the gauge stops moving. So that's what we're going to do here now. Go ahead and run backwards till the gauge stops moving.
Okay.
Okay, she stopped.
No, keep it going.
No, it stopped.
Well, there's something wrong then. Because that isn't right.
Alright.
You want to turn this off?
Let me go back forward. There the gauge is moving again.
Okay.
Alright. Something wrong then, he says. What we found was the vacuum pump there, that hose was binding up on his gauge, so we decided to move that pump around. We just rotated a little bit, get that hose out of the way, so we can do this again here. And just going to go ahead and preload his gauge, because we're right back at TDC here. And preload his gauge 2.5, and then we'll back that engine backwards until the gauge stops moving. Got it zeroed out there. Pretty good? Yeah. Okay, now you want me to back it off till it stops moving,
Yeah,
right?
yeah, counterclockwise.
Okay. So here we go. Okay, ready?
Yeah.
Counterclockwise. So here we go.
It should stop at about 0.9 because that's where it should stop.
Okay,
Yeah.
she quit.
Yeah.
Okay. What it set at?
Well, that was 8/8
Okay.
instead of 0.9.
Okay, this is 0.9 plus or minus 0.05, and it stopped at 0.88, so it's actually within spec.
Okay. Now,
It's only, yeah, plus or minus, it's minus only 0.02.
He's good.
So
okay,
it's, yeah,
now,
so we're actually within spec there.
okay, now we go forward until that's up to top dead center again.
Okay, tell me when.
Whoop.
Too
We
far?
pass it?
Yeah,
That is it there? Okay, I see it now. Yeah, just a butt here. The other, right there.
Okay, what'd you come back to? You should be back to your zero, shouldn't you?
well, 0.9.
Okay.
0.91 or something like that. Anyway, that's
Yeah, that's great.
that's
That's all you can ask.
so we're back to the correct position.
Okay. So anyway, apparently we don't have to adjust this pump back and forth because we're within spec, which you would expect, because basically it was set with the new belt and we just put a new belt back on it. There's no reason anything should change. So anyway, so it should be good to go. We'll throw all the little bits and pieces back on it, and then we'll fire it up and give you a shot. Anyway, be back later. Well, we got the bits and pieces put back on this thing now, and we're gonna go ahead and set it back down on the floor and see how it runs. So we'll go ahead and do that. Take a look at that license there, NFG. You can tell what I call it, but anyway, it's not my car, so we'll go ahead and put this thing back on the floor and then light it up. Be back. Well, I guess he's going to go ahead and start this thing up, so we'll see how that works out. Maybe. There it is. I guess you lose a little fuel when you pull the cap off the back of that pump. Anyway, sounds like a diesel. Anyway, so that's the timing belt changed out, and thanks to my dad there for showing us how. If he gives away, there he goes. And thanks for watching.